Every living thing on this planet shares one inescapable truth. Eventually, individual organisms die. It is a biological rule with no exceptions. Yet life itself continues. Species survive across millions of years, outlasting everything from natural disasters to the shifting of continents. They do this through a single vital process: reproduction. Beneath those delicate petals lies a ruthlessly efficient machine designed to conquer the passage of time. To understand how it pulls off this magic trick, we have to peel back the layers and look at the physical anatomy inside, working our way from the outside in. By taking a closer look at how plants create new life, we can see exactly how biology stacks the deck, mathematically guaranteeing a species will survive long after any single flower has faded away. Let's start with the male side. The male reproductive organ is the stamen. It has two main parts: a long supporting stalk called the filament, and a bulbous structure at the top known as the anther. That bulb at the top acts as a tiny hollow vault, a microscopic manufacturing plant. Deep inside this vault, the cells are rapidly dividing over and over again, constantly mass-producing thousands of these tiny reproductive units. We know these mass-produced units by a much more common name: pollen grains. Each one of these grains carries the male genetic spark needed to create a new plant. To do their job, these grains have to leave the flower. So they become dry, powdery, and incredibly light, a golden dust specifically engineered to be picked up by the wind or an insect and carried far away. The entire architecture of the stamen exists simply to build these little genetic packages, lift them up into the air, and stage them for a risky journey out into the world. In the center of the flower, surrounded by male stamens, sits the female reproductive apparatus, the pistil. At its very peak is the stigma, a specialized sticky landing pad acting as a trap to catch floating pollen grains. Below that sticky pad is the style, a long, slender stalk acting as a dark physical corridor. At the bottom, the structure bulges into a fortified, thickened chamber called the ovary. Safely locked away deep inside the walls of this ovary rests the ovule. This is the unfertilized female egg, quietly waiting in the dark. So, the pistil is essentially a biological fortress. It reaches up to snatch passing life from the outside world, while fiercely protecting its own fragile egg deep underground. This setup creates a logistical problem. Plant cells cannot crawl or swim, so how does the male pollen cross that physical void to reach the female egg locked in the vault below? The answer starts with pollination. When a matching pollen grain successfully lands on that sticky stigma, a mechanical process triggers. The pollen grain actually wakes up. It absorbs water, germinates, and literally sprouts a microscopic tube, drilling downward like a tiny root. This pollen tube carves a path straight down through the solid tissue of the style's corridor, pushing deeper and deeper until it reaches the ovary at the base. Once it reaches the chamber, the tube opens up. The male genetic material flows out and merges with the waiting egg, finally completing the process of fertilization. This blending creates a brand new mix of traits in the offspring. Because no two seedlings are exactly the same, the species effectively spreads its bets. If the environment changes, some individuals will likely possess the specific new strengths needed to survive. Once fertilization happens, the flower's job is done. The bright petals that attracted insects have outlived their usefulness, so they blacken and fall away. What is left behind is the ovary. Over time, it loses water, its outer walls harden, and it permanently seals itself around the newly fertilized egg. This process replaces the delicate flower with something much tougher: a heavily armored seed. A seed is biology's ultimate survival strategy. It is essentially a living time capsule, packed with enough food reserves to sustain the tiny plant inside, and wrapped in a tough coat so it can sleep safely through freezing winters or scorching droughts. To understand how durable this strategy is, we can look at archaeological excavations, like the ruins of King Herod's ancient palace near the Dead Sea. During a dig at this site, researchers discovered ancient seeds left behind millennia ago. When they planted them, the seeds sprouted. They had remained perfectly viable, waiting patiently in the dark for 2,000 years. When you see a flower wilting, you aren't watching the end of a life. You are watching a biological machine successfully forging a time capsule, packing away its genetic code to ensure its bloodline will outlive us all.